Well, welcome, Grandma. Well, it's the second time doing this now, so still not very good. But I guess we'll start off with your full name, date of birth, where you were born, and kick
Okay,
straight into it.
right. My full name is Janet Eleanor Cotton, and I was born in Kilburnie, Wellington, and my birth date is 27/6/1940.
Yep,
So that makes me nearly 84 in a few months.
that's exciting times then.
Yeah,
84. Gone around the world a few times.
well, would be nice if I had.
Yeah, yeah, true. What were the times like when you were born and when you were growing up?
When I was born, well, I wouldn't have known much about it, but it was still war years.
Okay.
So we shared house. We didn't live in our own house until I
Okay.
was about 5. So we didn't have a lot, but it was happy times.
Yeah. Do you remember much about the war?
No, I
No.
don't think we got. I just remember that we didn't have a lot of fruit and sugar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as kids, we probably didn't need it anyway.
Yeah.
No, so
Yeah. You're a bit oblivious to what's going on in the world, right?
absolutely, yeah. And I think we were pretty lucky with that.
Yep. And whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up. I started schooling in Karori, Wellington, and then my parents got a house in Tait, and eventually I moved out there with them when the school was opened.
Yep.
So my childhood till I was 17 was in Tait, which
Yeah,
is in
okay.
Lower Hutt.
Yep. So born and raised and still here in the Hut?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep. And tell me about your sort of family and how many siblings you had and what it was like growing up with them.
I had one older brother who was 18 months older than me. Sadly, he passed away when he was 53.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's me, and then I have a younger sister who's 4 years younger than me,
Yeah.
Margaret. So my brother's John, and my sister's Margaret.
Okay. And what was it like growing up with John and Margaret?
John was a tease.
In what way?
He was an aggravator.
Right.
Yeah, just siblings probably.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But later in life, probably when I say later, as a teenager, he was wonderful. He taught me to dance.
Oh, right.
You know, we went out dancing quite a bit. And funnily enough, he taught me to dance with the doorpost.
How does that work?
Well, you hold on to the door handle,
right,
and that's your
okay.
partner. And the
Yeah,
partner's always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like ballroom dancing.
No.
Right.
Rock and roll.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was it like with Margaret growing up? Were you close as sisters?
Well, because Mum went out to work to keep us at home, and so I really looked after Margaret.
Yeah.
Being 4 years younger.
Yeah.
And it was probably pretty much what sisters did. We did most things together. She was
Yeah.
a pain at times, and she probably thought I was a pain at times.
Yeah.
But no, it was okay.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Because you're quite close now. You have a really good relationship.
Yes,
right?
we do.
She's in Auckland.
Yes,
Yeah. How often do you see her now?
a couple of times a year probably.
Yeah.
But we talk every day.
Yeah. Yeah. As good sisters do, right?
Yep.
And what's your? It might be a hard question, but when I ask what your favourite childhood memory is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, it's a real hard one. Yes, there would be something. My mum played the piano, and probably my favourite memory is Mum playing the piano and Margaret sitting on her left side and me on my right side on this tiny little piano stool singing with Mum playing.
Oh, nice.
And that could happen any time.
So she was quite a good pianist then.
Yeah, she could play anything,
Yeah.
and she didn't need music to play.
Okay.
So she just could play, and she used to annoy us at times because she would play a real classical tune and then play it boogie woogie
Yeah. Right.
and jazz it up, just to be annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we'd wake up in the middle of the night and Mum would be playing the piano.
Wow.
That was her.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was.
What sort of piano was it? Was like I'm picturing
Very
this big one.
old iron-framed piano.
Okay.
Yeah, that my grandmother and grandfather sent out when Grandma got sick. So it was sent out to Mum.
Where would that have been sent from?
Tait, Wellington.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's cool that you had instruments and music in your life growing up.
Absolutely.
Did you ever pick it up, music, yourself?
I did learn, but I don't have that musical in me, sadly. None of us
You got
did.
the arts and crafts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get into that in a sec. But I guess tell me a bit about your mum then. What were your earliest memories of your mum? And
My
obviously
mum
was
was a person who I admire incredibly. She brought 3 children up from the mid-40s with no government help. She went out to work, we stayed at home, she kept us together. We didn't have a lot, but what we had was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, it was a happy home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Very.
And what was her name?
My mum's name was Jean Margaret, and my sister's Margaret Jean.
Oh, right. How about that?
Yeah. And Mum eventually got to be called Jeannie.
Yeah.
So that was her.
And where were your roots from? Where's the sort of family traditions come from down the path?
I'm part of 5-generation Kiwi born mother to daughter. So we're all Kiwis.
Yeah, right. It's as Kiwi as it comes.
So there's my grandmother, my mother, me, Sharyn and Alexa May. And we were all born in the Wellington district.
Yeah. And then obviously Chloe came in as an Aussie.
Well, yes, Chloe's an Aussie. Yes, sad.
Yeah.
Never mind. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
But
they'll be growing up with the Kiwi traditions, I'm sure, in that family though.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm so proud to be a Kiwi.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As am I. Even though I live in Australia, take their money and send it back home. Something like that.
Yeah.
What was it like to meet your first child?
Actually, it was a bit scary.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a very easy birth, and Sharyn was put in the nursery for 3 days before I saw her. Well, I saw her just immediately at birth. And then I was asleep, and the ladies in the ward woke me up and said, "Your baby's here." And I didn't even know that she was there. And I looked at her and I said, "What do I do?"
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah, it was a bit traumatic.
Yeah. What was that first day like when you had her at home? When you woke up and you realised?
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary. Yeah. Very scary. We weren't. I was actually staying at my mum and stepdad's place at that time, and because Ron was over in Melbourne, Masterton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he'd moved over there, but I couldn't go until I'd had the baby.
Yeah, of course.
So
yeah.
So yes, it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Because that was the first baby I'd had anything to do with at all.
Yeah. So weren't a real baby person leading up to that, or?
No, not at all. No.
And was there anything that came over you that you wanted kids, or you thought about it before you had kids? Or was it one of those things that?
No, I think we just, we thought that we would have children which would make the family.
Yeah.
No.
So a very family orientated person.
I am.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And what was it like bringing up kids in that time? What years were they born? What era? Dad was in 66.
63 and 66.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like bringing up kids in that time?
Pretty easy, really. We didn't have to. We did have to watch our finances.
Yeah.
But they had a good life. They had very free, because we didn't have to take them everywhere.
Yeah.
So they could hop on their bikes.
Yeah.
And go to where they were going and that. So very different to this generation.
You gotta be careful out there now, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then going into your career, what was your first job that you ever had?
I was a dressmaker. So all my life I have, well, I'll go back again. As a kid growing up, I did enjoy sewing and embroidery. And then I got a job as a dressmaking apprenticeship, which I did for 3 years.
Yeah.
And at the age of 18, I was qualified dressmaker.
Wow.
It was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Yeah, I bet. Would have been sore on the thumbs. But you helped put my mum's dress together as well,
I
right?
did. I
Yeah.
made your mum's dress. It was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think-
Probably the last gown that I made that I really, really enjoyed making. No, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome that you could have been a part of that too,
Oh,
right?
it was. It was wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mum did do a little bit of it as well.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
yeah, it was. It was absolutely lovely.
Yeah. And Mum's kept it too for Danielle to either use or pick apart.
Yes.
So that tradition will move on into Danielle as well. And then in terms of the majority of your career, what did you do?
Okay, well, so probably until I was around 40, I sewed at home for various people, and then got fed up with that and started working in the supermarket as a checkout girl and ended up as a checkout manager, one of the big new supermarkets in Wellington, which was an absolute dream.
Yeah. And that was New World?
That was Wellington City New World, which is now, I think it's Schaefer's New World.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it's
New World
changed.
always the best of the big supermarkets out there, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially those really, really big ones,
Yeah.
And it was just such a wonderful way to finish off a career, to work in that situation.
Was that the job you had when the other day we were talking about smiling at people?
Yeah.
Was that job?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me about that story?
Actually, no, that goes back a little bit further. When I was doing dressmaking, I was working in Brodie, and I used to catch a bus to work and get off at the same bus stop, walk down to where I worked and pass the same people every morning. And so I would say good morning to them. And I said good morning to this guy. I suppose he was probably in his 30s or 40s or something like that. And probably 10, 15, 20 years later, I was at the Workingmen's Club, and this older man came up and said to me, "Did you used to work in Brodie?" And I looked at him and said, "Yes." And he said, "You smiled at me every morning as we passed, and I've never forgotten."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the impact you want to have on the world, right?
That's the impact that everyone should have on the world, is a smile.
Yeah, 100%. Well, growing up with you as my grandma, you've always been very bubbly and smiley, so I can count for that too. And then speaking about sewing and playing the piano and dancing, what are your main hobbies and what have been your hobbies over the course of your life?
Well, it would all be sewing related.
Yeah.
So once I finished work, I went into doing craft, playing around, having fun, making quilts, spending lots of money. I actually do enjoy mending, and I know I've done a lot of mending for my grandchildren.
Yeah.
And I think they've appreciated it.
Yeah, 100%.
So especially when Joshua came home from school with all his toys from his classroom that needed mending.
Oh, really? I must have been pretty young then.
Yes, you were at Dye Street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always remember being like, "Oh, my grandma can fix that for you."
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, some things that do register, and I can remember mending a pair of trousers, of sporting trousers for Bradley, and they were black ones, of course, with white stripes on them and bits of white here and there, and they were quite battered around. And anyway, so I mended them and I took them back to him, and he sat there and he looked at them and he turned them over and he looked and he said, "I don't believe that you've done this, Grandma."
Yeah. Definitely some miracles you were able to work, hey?
Yeah, and that was such a pleasure to do that.
Yeah.
It really was, yeah.
Yeah, I think you helped a lot of people and saved a lot of people money by being able to patch things up.
Yeah.
I remember I had a pair of compression tights pants for football, and the first day I wore them was on the AstroTurf, and it ripped a big hole in my knee, and then you put a big patch over it. And
Okay.
something that you'd think would be unfixable being that compression fabric, and you just keep using it.
Yeah.
Like, just stayed forever until I outgrew it, I think. It's
It's really quite satisfying to be able to do that.
Yeah. And what about these days? What are your main hobbies? I know you like flowers and gardens.
I love gardening.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, and that's probably developed over the years, but I do enjoy gardening. Sadly, I don't have a big one now, but I still enjoy the little garden. I love to be able to pick 1 or 2 or 3 flowers and put them in a little small vase.
Yeah.
That's my aim. So,
if you were to build your ideal bouquet of flowers, what would they be? What would they look like?
colourful.
Yeah.
Yeah, not all the same. But yeah, they would have lots of colour in them.
Yeah. Any specific type of flowers, or doesn't matter?
No, garden flowers.
Garden flowers.
Garden
Okay.
flowers. Yeah.
So you go snip them off the council and chuck them in a vase.
Well, I must admit to snipping a few down the street, not flowers, but to plant in my garden.
Yeah.
I've done that
Yeah.
a few
If
times.
they've been pulled out of the ground already, it doesn't count, right?
No.
Yeah. And I know obviously you've always tried to keep up with technology, and you've been one of the grandparents in my life, especially, that have always tried to keep up with trends and getting Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram. And
I'm so envious of people who can use the technology to its fullest extent, and I feel really envious and really sad that I can't, but I enjoy what I do.
yeah.
And I'll play around until I can almost get there.
Yeah.
But yes, I enjoy it. I think that's the way the world is going to be.
Yeah, 100%. It's the easiest way to connect, right?
Oh.
Especially like we can stay in contact when I'm overseas.
I know.
And you can talk to your grandkids.
Well, there's a little story I could tell you here, and that is
go for it.
about Alexa May and me, and its technology. And Alexa had moved to Melbourne, and she messaged me and said, "Grandma, how do you make those eggs that are all mixed up like you used to do?" And that's how she meant scrambled eggs. So I'm telling her, and I said, "Where are you going? What are you doing?" In the end, and she said, "Well, I'm just making them while you're telling me, Grandma." And she was in Melbourne. Now, there's the same thing happened with you, Joshua, and you wanted to know how to cook corned beef.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember?
Yep.
Yep. And I was walking, and I sat on a bench and talked to you and told you how to cook corned beef.
That's right.
So, and that's from Melbourne
Yeah.
to New Zealand. You know,
Yeah, it's
technology.
crazy. It's cool that you can still have an impact.
Oh, and I mean, it's actually great that my grandchildren call me to ask how to do things like that,
Yeah, of course.
and that's the biggest thrill.
Yeah. Well, you're the queen of corned beef in my eyes. Probably
Yes.
a majority of the corned beef I've had in my life at your house.
Yes, I would think that would be right
Yeah.
too.
I love the saltiness of it.
Yes, very much so.
Awesome. And then going into, I guess, growing up and the people that have been big parts of your life, who would be your best friend over the course of your life, and why? You can have multiple if there are.
Well, there's one girl in particular, and I don't really think you will know her. You don't think you've met her, and that's Judy. And she was Judy Taylor, and she lived around the corner from me and Tait, and she's just a little bit younger than me. And we started school, at primary school, together. So we were 5, and I see her every month. So we are still friends. We went away together to Australia for 6 months and toured around a wee bit, way back in the late 50s, and that was something. And we can take off the conversation exactly where we left it off. Talk about anything. And our biggest thing is that we say to each other, when we have a problem, well, we're tighter gals and we can sort it.
Yeah.
So that's a lifetime friend.
Yeah.
Still.
What's the secret to having a lifetime friend or being a good friend?
Acceptance. A friend is someone who you don't want to change. There's something that connects.
Yeah. They are who they are, take them or leave them, right?
Yep. Not leave them, take them.
Yeah, true. I guess they wouldn't be a friend if you leave them, right?
No.
All right, I've got a couple of fun questions that we can answer. What's your favourite song?
Well, I think I told you that ages ago, didn't I?
Yeah, well, you have to say it again.
The girl changes from bobby socks to stockings.
That's right, yep.
Yeah.
I did ask you a wee while ago, and I played everyone's favourite song.
Yeah.
What's your earliest memory of that song? Can picture you dancing around in your younger days listening to it.
Yep. And I always wore little black shoes and white socks, ankle socks.
Yeah.
And that was probably from I was about 15, 16, 17, 18.
When's the last time you listened to it?
When you asked me.
Right.
Yeah.
So about, 8 months ago, maybe
Yeah, probably.
a year ago. What was your favourite holiday that you've ever been on?
Going to Hawaii.
What'd you do there?
Nothing.
No.
Went to the beach in the morning. Went out for lunch. Somewhere different every day for 3 weeks. Went back to the beach in the late afternoon and went out for dinner and eventually got to bed. And that was with Ron.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That would have been a good time, I bet.
It was
the
wonderful.
Island life.
And actually, the biggest memory of that is being on the beach about midday when the trade wind came across. And I always read about the trade wind, that it was supposed to have the smells of from where it comes from. And it was just a magical wind, magical breeze that came across every day without fail.
Yeah. What is a trade wind?
Well, it comes from way. Oh God, I don't know. It's supposed to have the scent and the smells of all the. I can't think of the right word.
Like the mines and stuff?
No, the growth of I'm lost.
That's right, we can come back to that. We'll have to Google it if you want to know what a trade wind is. We'll have a look afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it'd be good to know what that is. Any iconic birthdays you had?
Or the 80th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me about your favourite birthday that you've had. I've got down here 21st because a lot of people have.
Well, I'll go back to 21st because that was my mum remarried when I was 17, and so my 21st was at my stepfather's house, and he was more father to me than I could ever imagine. And we had some of mum's old friends and some of my local new friends, and mum played the piano, and we all sang, and we probably didn't drink very much because we didn't then. And my stepdad gave me my 21st key, which he was just so proud to do. It was a very what you would call low-key party.
Yeah.
But it was really quite special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned your grandparents. Tell me a bit about them.
My grandmother died when I was 12, but my memory of her is of a very lovely, very soft-spoken lady, and I absolutely adored her. And it's a little story that we used to go and visit her. She lived in Tait, and to get there from Tait probably took well over an hour, or public transport, and we would sit around the big table, always, Grandma at the top, and Mum and Margaret and I down the side. And my grandma looked at my sister and she said, "Margaret, you don't bite your nails, do you?" And Margaret hit her fingers and, yes, she did. "Oh," says Grandma. And my mother said, "I know somebody else who bites their nails too." And my grandmother looked at me and said, "Oh, Janet, you don't." And I never bit my nails after that.
Really?
Ever. So, So my granddad was a very imposing man. We never sat in his seat when he was around. He was a messenger in Parliament, and he carried the black rod in Parliament. And so did his father. My great-grandfather did the same. So Granddad always wore a white shirt with a little collar that folded down. And even when he didn't have his tie on at home, he had the white shirt on.
Right, very proud of what he was doing.
And he died at 82, aged 82, and he stood at 6'2".
Wow, so he's my height.
Yep. Yep.
I'll be happy to make it that long.
Yeah, they were an inspiration to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How so?
Just because they were. I would never have dreamt of answering back.
Yeah.
A great respect for them. They were very helpful to my mum when she was bringing us kids up. Just genuinely lovely, lovely people.
Yeah. Like what I have in common with my grandparents.
Thank you.
All right. You've just been put on death row. You've got one last meal. What is it?
Roast lamb.
Roast lamb?
Roast lamb and roast veggies.
Yeah.
With peas.
Peas. Mashed potatoes?
No.
Chips?
Roast potatoes.
Roast potatoes.
Roast pumpkin.
Gravy?
Oh, loads of gravy.
Lots of gravy?
Yeah.
Yorkshire pudding?
No. Don't have Yorkshire pudding with roast lamb. Have that with beef.
Have it with anything, I reckon.
Yeah, probably. No, that would... Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Kiwi roast lamb, I assume, too.
Oh, have to be.
Yeah.
Yep. Whole big lamb.
Yeah. And any drinks to go with it?
No.
No?
No. Just roast lamb.
Just roast lamb. Drink the gravy.
Exactly.
Who is the love of your life and why?
Gee, that's telling. The love of my life would have to be Ron. And Tom.
Yeah.
Don't know. Why? Just because.
Yeah. Love doesn't really tell you much, right? You just do it.
Yeah, it's just something that happens, isn't it? Really. Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me a bit about Tom then. We haven't touched on Tom very much. When did you meet Tom?
I met Tom in late 1992 when I had my first mastectomy, and he was a driver for the Cancer Society, and he drove me from Upper Hutt to Wellington for radiation treatment lots of times over the 6 weeks that I had the treatment. And because appointments don't run to time, and we had a lot of time sitting in a waiting room, and we discovered that we had a likeness for dogs. Tom had a German Shepherd and I had a couple of dogs. And we both liked cricket, and cricket was on the TV, and we just clicked together, and he was, we eventually started going out together. He was a great help to me when I was recuperating, and 2 years later we got married. We were married for 25 years, and we've been together for 27 years.
Yep.
So
I was a small child at that wedding, wasn't I?
you were,
yes,
I had, and that was really quite amazing, because when I had the cancer, I sort of thought my world had come to the end. And here 2 years later, I had my first 2 grandchildren. One was 10 days old, which was Josh, and Alexa at 10 months old, at my wedding, and that was just something so special. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then you were with Tom for a long time, obviously, until he sadly passed away when I was in India.
Yes, that's right.
He was always so intrigued by travel and football and cricket, obviously.
Oh, he was, yes.
Yeah, he was always keen to know what I was doing with my travels, that's for sure.
he thought of my family as his family.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a big part of our lives too. I think there's a photo of me sitting on Tom's lap with my little teddy bear back in the day.
Oh.
I saw recently. I'll have to show you later if I can find it. But
Yep.
yeah, obviously a big Manchester United supporter too.
Yes.
I feel like that's how we could always get along quite well.
He had a lot of stories to tell about his life in the UK
Yeah.
before he came out to New Zealand. But once he came out here, he never went back home again.
Yeah. Because do you know much about Tom's earlier years? Can you tell me a bit about that?
He lived in Manchester, and his father was detective, inspector, chief inspector. No, I can't get that right. Of the Manchester Police, anyway. Detective
Okay.
Chief Inspector.
Yeah.
Detective Chief Inspector of the Manchester Police. And his grandfather also was in the Manchester Police. So that he had a pretty strict upbringing. I would say, probably was scared of his father, and he wouldn't even smoke in front of him.
Yeah, right.
But his father led a very different life, because that was during the Depression and afterwards, and during when there was no alcohol. What do you call that time in America? And they came to it was.
Not sure what it's called at the time.
Yeah,
Probably the
so
Depression if there's no alcohol.
I think he had a pretty free childhood. I always said was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, because his mother doted on him.
Right.
And he sat in the choir at the church.
I did not know that.
Yeah, yep. I think he really enjoyed his childhood, but in the UK. But when he was deployed to Egypt for 3 years at the age of 18, 19, 20, when he went back to England, he couldn't cope with the closed effect that England had on him. He couldn't see the sky after being in Egypt, where it was just so open and everything. And he left and came to New Zealand.
Yeah, wow.
And
That's
never
a
went
huge
back.
move.
Oh, massive.
Must have been big for, obviously his granddad was in the Manchester Police and his dad was in the Manchester Police. And
He didn't want to follow in those footsteps.
He broke the curve.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Got a last couple of questions for you. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
To accept your beliefs and to stick with them. Don't try and change for other people. To be true to your own beliefs.
Yep, and be true to yourself, right?
Yep.
Yep. That's some good advice. And last question. If you could tell your great grandkids or the next generation one thing, what would it be?
To love and respect your family and not to procrastinate.
Not to procrastinate.
No.
Just get it done.
Yep. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today.
Yeah.
But respect. Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's all I have for you, Grandma.
Oh.
Is there anything else you wanted to add on there at the end that you don't think we covered?
No, I think we've probably pretty much covered.
Awesome. All right.
I think.
Thanks for coming on. Obviously, it's been great having you in my life. Long may it continue.
Thank you.
And
I hope so.
And yeah, I love you, and thank you so much for everything you've done for me in my
Well,
life
there
too.
is just one little thing that I will add, and that was when we lived next door to, so we lived at 31 and you lived at 27, and there was just a road between it, just for the book's sake.
Mm-hmm.
And often I would come over, and I can still remember hearing, and it would probably be you would be the loudest, Mum, here comes Grandma. And the big smile on the face of
Yeah.
the three kids. And that was just magical.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, I remember that. The good old days.
Yes.
Especially I remember when the fence broke and it was straight access to your house.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd run over there, get some sweets, get looked after, come back home,
Yeah.
go to sleep.
And one other one too was, and this one involves Danielle, and that was a little knock at the door about 8:30 in the morning or 9 in the morning. And I opened my back door and there's Danielle, and she was probably 2.5. With her breakfast, can I have breakfast with you, Grandma? It was just magical.
That's
really,
awesome,
it really
yeah.
was, yeah. The magical bit about Bradley we won't talk about.
Let's talk about it.
Well, it was something that happened that upset him,
Right.
and he really played up terribly, and we had to carry him home because he was carrying on something shocking. But he came back in the afternoon and said he was sorry.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, don't recall what it was that upset him. I really don't. But
No.
he got to the stage where he couldn't control himself anymore.
Yeah. Middle child, problem child.
Oh no,
Yeah.
nothing
No.
like that.
Awesome. All right.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Grandma.
My
You're
love to
welcome.
you too. And Alice.
Likewise.